This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. The following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
This is the National Football League. You got a bunch of owners who inherit teams, who are members of the Lucky Sperm Club, who are trying to negotiate in 2018 high-tech type of agents. And I just think Ted Phillips and Ryan Pace are overmatched. And I think it's bad for the whole football team. And it's a cloud that hangs over the head of the Bears and Matt Nagy and what they want to do. How many times you heard this? I'm going to Vegas. I go, how'd you do? Well, if I lost $4,000, but you go there to have fun. No, you go there to win. And that's what's wrong with people. They have the negative mentality in anything they do, including sports, before they even laid the bet down. So you got to be positive. The people that really scare me, the people that can walk in those electric carts. And they go to the slot machine and sit on them. And then they forget that they're supposed to be, crippled from the waist down. Have a bear standing with a towel in his hands, rubbing his crotch. Bear ball washer. What you got to really try to do is money manage and only bet 1 or 2 games on a Sunday. That's what we'll be doing on Bear Barroom.
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right, the Mike North Advantage begins right now. My name is Aldo Gandia. I am Mike's wingman, and Mike North is probably the hottest sports handicapper in the nation. Mike, how are ya?
How could I not be happy right now, Aldo? First of all, it's great to talk to you, and we're also brought to you by the Mike North Advantage, brought to you by Bet Chicago 1, it's the Twitter, and Bet Chicago, and Vrdoliak Law Group. So, hey, we got them. We'll talk more about them later, but I got to tell you something. 23-9-1 now. Thursday night seems to be my Achilles. I had the Jets last night getting 3. They lose by 4. Last week I won those games. The week before I won those games, when I'm talking about 1-point loss, it was 1-point win. So now I'm fearful, Aldo, being 23-8-1 and also 7. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. 7-1 on Bears Barroom. I'm fearful and paranoid, which might be a good thing because I was paranoid last week, that the bottom's going to fall out. The jet that's flying smoothly, if you will encounter a mountain. So be careful this week once again, but we'll have picks up, and we'll be ready to go during the show. Whenever Aldo says, let's get it done, we'll get it done for you. But if you've been going with me, and by the way, when I do the other picks, Aldo, when I give everybody the synopsis of all the games, those picks are in the Chicago Sun-Times. Mm-hmm. So 23-8-1 in the Sun-Times and Bear Barroom, really. 7-1 with Bear Barroom. 3-0 last week with Vegas Scores and Odds. 5-0 with pro and college. So it's insane. Sooner or later, I know me, Aldo, I'm going to screw this up. Believe me when I tell you this. And Mark Potash and the guys at the Sun-Times are happy. But those guys are very, very good, too. Sylvie and Potash are 17-14, and they've beaten me the last 2 years, 1 each. So, you know what? It's a long way to go, but I'm very happy because I usually get off to a bad start.
Well, I know you're not going to tell us your secrets as to how you do it, but I got to tell you the one thing that I really love about your method, at least the one you're using here with Bears Barroom, is that you're giving us 3 or 4 picks, official picks, because you tell us to manage the money. Don't go out there and bet the whole board because then your chances of losing increase. You're telling us let's focus in on 3 or 4 games that you think are really good bets, and that's why if you've been following us here at Bears Barroom on the Mike North Advantage, then you are 7-1, and your bookie is happy, you're happy, the spouse is happy, everybody's happy because you're winning thanks to Mike North. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and if you did the pick so far, and by the way, folks, there's going to be 3 and 12 weeks. There's going to be 1 and 3 weeks. I mean, I'm just telling everybody the game. Mm-hmm. And just so don't act surprised. I said last week I went through a 1 and 15 week. I had to climb out from that. I had 3 losing weeks all last year. But one was a 1 and 15 week. Can you imagine? But here's the other thing. I've won. I've had 2-14 in 2 weeks. I've picked 13 games in a row at times. So it's ebbs and flows. But all I'm going to tell everybody is this. When is a Scott Van Pelt going to give myself and Bears Barroom a little love? When are the Chicago papers, if this keeps up, going to give us a little love? Because anybody else, whether it's in the Sun-Times or if a pitcher was 23-8, he'd be on TV.
That's right.
Right? Am I right or wrong?
You're
They'd be
absolutely
giving
right.
them the Cy Young Award. There's no award for handicapping because you know what? It's a weekly deal. And you know what? This week it could go the other way and I might be the dumbest guy on the planet. But right now, everything is going good and I'm really working hard on the picks. I always do. When you're a pro, you don't just circle teams in a newspaper, for 15 minutes and then call your buddy, which team do you like, and then go opposite him or whatever. It's a lot of hard work, but so far it's paying off.
It is paying off. Just want to remind our audience that this Mike North Advantage show will be out on podcast version on Friday afternoon, early Friday afternoon, and you can listen to it live every Friday at 9 a.m. on mixlr.com. If you're not registered, just go to mixlr.com, type in Bears Barroom Radio Network, and then you can listen live. You can come into the chat room, ask Mike North a question, engage with us. That would be fantastic. Or if not, again, just subscribe to the podcast and you can listen to it at your leisure.
And then what I do is I say bearsbarroom.com because when I'm tweeting that out, and with Bet Chicago and Verdoliak Law, they're going to get the podcast from bearsbarroom.com. Am I right, Aldo?
You are absolutely right. We have it up at the website. It is on YouTube. It is on Twitter. The show is everywhere. So all you got to do is really go on to Google, punch in Bears Barroom Radio Network, and you will find us because we've been working hard over here to just get this baby out to hundreds of thousands of people.
We got 7 shows, and you're the producer of all of them.
Yeah,
you know what? You're the Martin Scorsese of podcast directors and producers.
Yeah, I'm pulling my hair out like Scorsese did too. But it's great fun to be with you. Now, Mike, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I see a tweet about a half hour later that you are not happy about what happened on Thursday night's football game because you got it incorrectly. Now, I also remember last week you said Thursday night games are the worst to bet because you've only got 3 or 4 days to kind of study the charts and so forth and the injury situation and blah, blah, blah. And so you probably didn't officially bet on that game, correct?
Here's what I told everybody last week, and this is why I do what I do. This is why, you know what, I'm only great at a few things, folks, 2 or 3 things. I mean, but great. I don't care if it's talk show host. I don't care if it's picking games. I don't care if it was selling hot dogs. Those were the 3 things I knew I could do. The other 2,000 things that go with your life, such as everything else, I was a complete moron on. But I'm going to tell everybody this. I told Aldo last week. I go, Aldo, Thursday nights, anything can happen, short week. I'm going to go on Thursday's light. So in other words, let me just explain this to everybody. Right now as we speak, I was up 790 going into last week. I told Aldo, let's be careful here. Let's go 50 units on this team, 50 units on that team. Let's go 100 units on Indy, let's go 100 units on Dallas or whatever. It was 300. We won all 4 games. So we went from 790 to 1,090. Now keep in mind, that could be if you were betting 1,000 a game, that's 10,900. If you're betting 100 a game, you've made 1,090 off this show, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm also going to say this. When you and I talked about Thursday night, I said go light. You know how much? I bet hundreds. I bet thousands on games, on individual games. You know how much I bet on that game last night just to watch it, to be interested? $25.
I was going to say 50 jelly beans, but...
That's all. Yeah. That's all. I call, and they know. They know if I don't feel comfortable, because if it was like the old days, everybody gets the same amount of rest. Everybody plays the same amount or the same day. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, I remember when Thursday night football was once a year with the Thanksgiving games.
Yeah.
Now they're every single week. And I remember then when Dallas was added to Thursdays, you know what you kept hearing? Oh, this is brutal to the players. This is ridiculous. Thank God they only do it once a year. Well, they're doing it every week now. every single week. So it's not about you don't have time to prepare for a team. Both teams looked bad at the beginning of the game. I think they were getting the sluggishness out of them because they just played games on Sunday. So that's why you got to watch out. I'll never put big money on the Thursday game.
I think that's really good advice. So I know you saw the game. What did you think of Baker Mayfield?
I love him. And I'm talking with some guys on Twitter today. You know, some guy goes to me on Twitter. He says, well, how do you like Sam Darnold now? Because I asked a question 4 weeks ago, if you remember. I said, listen, everybody, who would you rather have, Trubisky or Darnold? Or, and he kept this guy out, Mayfield. He kept him out in his little Twitter argument. I said, buddy, you want to cherry pick all you want. I've got some stats here for you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do. By the way, last year in Game 3, do you know who was the quarterback of the Bears? It wasn't Mitchell Trubisky. It was Mike Glennon. Do you know he won that game? He went 15 of 22. But you know what the problem was? For 100 yards. Okay?
He didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver in that game.
Right. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Okay? So I understand. Trubisky hadn't even started yet. I'm going to say this to everybody, and you could be mad all you want. Last night, Baker Mayfield looked better than Trubisky ever looked in any single game. And he's played 13 games or 14 games. That's how he looked. He looked like a Heisman Trophy winner that has guts, that has moxie, and has an underrated, my God, laser beam for an arm. Tyrod Taylor should never play I don't know what the hell they were going to accomplish by having him start, Aldo, because you know what? When the Browns start to move, he's not going to be there anyway. So, you know what? It's not like Mayfield was sitting behind somebody like Troy Aikman said last night. There was a Joe Montana. Play the guy from the beginning, but you know what? They're okay. It's early enough, and maybe, just maybe, sitting for those games helped him. I mean, people in Cleveland are yelling, why didn't you start Mayfield from the beginning? You know as well as I do. They could have gotten their brains beat in those first 2 games, and where would they be now? So Tyrod Taylor did some good things in the first game, was just average in the second game. He might have played himself out of the league last night the way he looked.
Yeah, but he was playing against a horrendous Jets team. So we got to factor that in. But you're absolutely right. Mayfield has something that Trubisky doesn't quite have yet, and hopefully Trubisky will get it fast, is confidence. The guy has BALLS.
I got something else for everybody because this is what I do. Darnold is 1-2 with 60%, a 60% completion thing for 701 yards. Here's his problem: 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Mm-hmm. But you'd agree, 701 yards, 3 games. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not bad. He's got to keep the ball out of the other team's hands. He threw some stupid passes last night. The 1 interception was absolutely mind-boggling. It really, really was. Now, for the people that love Trubisky was 24 of 49 the first 3 games he started. He had a quarterback rating of 14. So before we start belittling everybody else, any quarterback, remember, everybody in Chicago that's a Bear ball washer especially is overrating Trubisky. We have to see him do something. Period. End of story.
Let's talk a little bit about the Monday night game. You and I have not had a chance to talk about that game. Clearly, he went through some doldrums after that first series. It seems like every game he comes out in that first scripted series where the head coach and Trubisky have sat down, they've scripted out that first series. Trubisky did that to the T, but then after that, he just seems like he loses his confidence, he loses his way. He's got to, be off that script, and things start to fall apart. For instance, the start of the second series, after the Bears have scored a touchdown, on the very first play, he's got Taylor Gabriel wide open, and he overthrows the pass. But at the end of the game, he comes through on a rollout to the left and finds Anthony Miller at the end zone for a very important touchdown that seals the win. What do you think about this guy? What is keeping him from playing a full 60-minute game?
He doesn't have an accurate arm. Most quarterbacks make that play the other night, that one that was overshot. He panics. I saw him run. He should have gained like 10 yards on a run, but he saw two guys waiting for him, Seahawks, big boys, and he decided to go outside, if you remember, early, and he got sacked. I don't think it's just a learning experience. I think it's instinct. I don't know if he's got the instinct that a lot of great quarterbacks have. He's got what all serviceable quarterbacks have. Do this, do that. Here's the scripted play thing. Who's it on, though, Aldo? Is the scripted plays when they end, is that on him or is that on Nagy? Because like I said last week, and this was funny because they didn't have a whole lot of time to work on each other's communication and cohesiveness together because he didn't play Trubisky in the preseason. Mm-hmm. So if you give me 6 days to script 15 plays, and then after that, I got to call the plays as the game is being situated on the field, and I'm not calling good plays, is that Trubisky's fault or is that Nagy's fault? It's Nagy's fault.
I'm blaming everybody.
Well, yeah, but Trubisky calls what Nagy calls. Yeah, Trubisky does what Nagy tells him to do. Mm-hmm. And then when you see, even in the second half, the first set of downs, the Bears look pretty crisp. Mm-hmm. Okay? But then once the script plays, because they script plays for the second half too, at the first time they get the ball. Once that's over with, Nagy has the problem calling plays that are going to work. I mean, period. But you know what? You got to adjust during the game. And they were adjusting. For instance, they adjusted to Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson had 10 catches. I'm glad we gave $42 million to Tom Waddle because they're not going to let him get deep. He couldn't get separation the other night. He averaged 8 yards a catch. That's Tanner Gentry for $1 million. So what we got to get out of Allen Robinson is more deep balls, but I don't think his leg's ready yet. I don't know if that second gear is ever going to come back. I will say this for him. Great hands and a tough kid. Great hands. You throw it to him, he's going to catch it. The other guys I'm not as confident in. But we got to get more than 8 yards a catch out of Allen Robinson, and that's up to the other guys to help take the pressure off him because I think they're sort of doubling him right now.
Yeah, the other thing that was interesting is it was either Matt Nagy or Mark Helfrich, the offensive coordinator, said in this week's press conference that Allen Robinson ran 2 or 3 routes where his the route wasn't exact the way the coaches wanted, the depth of the route, and so it made me think that, despite the fact that on paper Trubisky has all of these great weapons, it could also be that the fact that the offense is not running like a well-tuned engine is that nobody is playing at their peak. Receivers aren't consistently running the same routes. Trubisky is misfiring and so forth. So this could be not just on the quarterback, not just on the head coach. It could be like an entire offense just in need of more work, in need of more reps. We might have to be patient.
And I got to see what Allen Robinson, if his leg continues. I don't think he's completely ready yet. I'm not going to down the guy. He makes the catches. He does what they took what the offense gave him. But if we keep saying, I'm going to give somebody something. Give you all something here. It's a little special present for Aldo since he's been doing such a great job. Do you know out of the 33 passes, 29 of them were under 10 yards? And do you know in the second half, the average amount of yards that the ball was in the air was 4.
Oh, my God.
That's unacceptable.
Yeah. That's
unacceptable if you're going to win. And let me just say this to everybody. We're playing somebody worse than Seattle this week. So that's a good opportunity for the Chicago Bears to quickly establish themselves and be 2-1 at least. But let's not forget who we're beating. Seattle, they're horrible. And I said to Aldo last week, I said, boy, I'll tell you what, Aldo, I can't believe the Bears are favored. But I'm taking the Bears. Mm-hmm. After I watched the game, the Bears should have been favored probably by 6 or 7. The way that Seattle looks, they have no offensive line. They have all sorts of injuries. And I'm making this prediction now. And, Aldo, you can mark it down on the Aldo Gandia Ouija board, which I know you hang prominently in your kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
You got this one here. Russell Wilson will be a Denver Bronco next year.
Really?
Ba-boom. That's my pick.
Whoa.
He's going to get out of there. He's too good a quarterback. He's too damn good a quarterback. He's as good a quarterback as anybody in the league. He's a Super Bowl winner, but that team is depleted. You've lost guys like Richard Sherman. The other guys I said last week were getting older. It doesn't have the bite that they once had, and Pete Carroll looks bewildered.
Well, I'll tell you what, there is a lot of people on the defensive side of the ball allegedly not real happy with Russell Wilson, so they probably wouldn't mind seeing him shipped to Denver or anywhere else.
They've never been happy with him, and all he did was show class and win. Mm-hmm. They've never been happy with Russell Wilson. I mean, from the back in the day, Sherman took shots at him back in the day and everything else. Russell Wilson's been a winner every place he's been.
Yeah, even
Wisconsin for 1 year, the guy goes. They win it all almost.
Yeah,
he's a winner. But you know what? There's some envy. He goes out with celebrities, or I think he's married now. I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, he was married. Yeah, God bless him. He was dating. Who, Shakira? Is that her?
No, her name is Sierra, and she is one of the most beautiful women I've ever laid my eyes on.
You know what? I always get my female singers wrong. It was Sierra, Shakira, apologies. But that's right. You don't think they're jealous of him? Oh. Making the big money, too?
I'm jealous. Hey.
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm a little jealous, too.
Ben Alexander.
By the way, did you bet the games to get the driveway going? You got that going?
The driveway, we've scheduled the date for the driveway because we've got the down payment thanks to Mike North.
Thank God. You need labor. We'll try to get it this week.
Little Nicky's already volunteering.
I love Little Nicky.
He's the best. Ben Alexander in the chat room says, we've got to get this running game going, and that's something that you've been preaching. Draft Dr. Phil's been preaching. For Jordan Howard to get only 15 carries, it's mind-boggling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's mind-boggling, and Nagy he's got a little bit of Joe Madden in him. I want to show everybody how smart I am.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he's trying to establish himself here just like the players. I think that simple is better. We've preached that since day one with the Green Bay Packers of the 60s. Aldo and I have pounded that in. The Bear coaches will not take that into effect. They tend to complicate things. When you got a load back and you're ignoring him, that means you're missing. Somebody's not reminding you, or they're afraid to tell you, because coaches can get lost in the game. And there's no doubt that Nagy's in love with Trubisky. There is no doubt about it. He wants this pick, and I think Ryan Pace wants this pick to come to fruition because, as we've seen, a lot of the other picks, like Kevin White, by the way, is he still on the roster, ladies and gentlemen? That's just a travesty. So they really want this pick to work, but I think if you run the football, especially this week against an Arizona team, mix it up a little bit, you should kill this team. But it's the NFL.
Yep, it is the NFL. Here's something that we can...
God, am I on my game? It was the third week in a row?
Yeah, that's right. This is show number 3 or 4, I think. You are always on your game, Mike, and let me tell you something. It looks like this defense is always on their game. Pro Football Focus, the website that does all these metrics, and it's owned by Chris Collinsworth, and they get a lot of attention. Anyway, they have ranked the Chicago Bears as the best defensive team in the NFL through 2 weeks. I wrote an article at bearsbarroom.com that you can take a look at. And the premise of my article is that I think that this defense could potentially, they're not there right now, but could potentially be a historic type defense. They right now are on track to break the all-time record for sacks, which is held by the 1984 Chicago Bears, 74 sacks. They're on track now to get 80 sacks, and they've got depth at most positions. At safety and corner, the depth isn't as strong, but at that front seven, it's loaded with depth and young emerging players, and of course, Khalil Mack. Talk to me about this defense.
Well, first of all, the defense is going to look good when they're playing teams that aren't matched up well against them. They should.
That's true.
Seattle and Arizona. Come on, Aldo. They're two of the worst teams in the National Football League. See, I'm going to give everybody an example. Arizona scored 6 points in 2 weeks. Okay? So I don't want to hear next week, boy, the Bear defense is great. I get that. But I cannot believe that Chris Collinsworth, well, yeah, I can. He's a ball-washing kiss-ass, and now I got to endure his kid, who looks just like him for the next 30 years, because I plan on being here around the time I'm 100, Aldo. I want to ask you a question. What defense blew a 20-0 lead or 17-0 lead in the second half of the first game? It's absurd.
Yeah.
You cannot put a defense, because the 84 Bears or the 85 Bears, for the most part, if they were up 17-0, they're winning that game. They blew that game. The defense got riddled. So I'm going to just say right now, Chris Collinsworth, focus, whatever it is, I'll never subscribe to it because, you're an outsider. You're an outsider. You didn't watch the game, apparently, and I thought you did.
Well,
I'll put them in the top 10, but I'm not going to. You're going to give a defense that blew a 17-0 lead in the first game when they've only played 2? You're going to make them the best defense in football? But to make them number 1 after they blew that lead? No way.
Yeah, they've got some weird metrics there. They don't really focus in on who they're playing against. They just kind of grade stuff on what they think is right or wrong. And so it is very debatable.
You know as well as I do, we thought we had that first game with that defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about it. The second half, the defense didn't show up. And then you're going to quote a magazine that has them number 1, and we saw in horror one of the worst collapses on a quarterback with one leg where they didn't even blitz. It was a bad second half of football. You can't make them number 1 yet.
Nicky Kurtz says that Chris Collinsworth sucks. Oh, you and Nicky are on the same page.
He's insane. No, that's just stupidity there. That's stupidity. You have 2 games, and the defense blew the second half, and they're the number 1 defense in football. That's just plain and stupid. They didn't do their homework. They couldn't have.
Yeah, that's very true. But talk to me about this defense. Do you think that it's possible that this team could be a cover boy type defense, a defense for the ages, or are you still holding judgment?
Well, I'm holding judgment because, you know what? They disappeared in the first game, and they're not going to play Seattle and Arizona every week. Let's see what happens at the end of the year. But there's no doubt that they're top 10 destined. They were a good defense, I thought, at times last year. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to deny them, but I'm not putting them in any big-time category with the 85 Bears or other defenses of the Ravens. I'm not putting them there, but I give them credit. Fangio had them down pretty good, but they played a bad football team. But that being said, I don't care. You only play who you're scheduled against. So, hey, good for them, but I'm not ready to. Man, they're 1-1 and they blew the first game. You got to show me more.
Yeah, how about it? Well, and you mentioned the 85 Bears defense. How about that 2006 defense on Monday Night Football back in 2006? It was a historic game. I've got a little audio from that game to refreshen everybody's memory. This was the game that the Chicago Bears came back from a 13-point deficit with about 5 minutes to go in the game. Rex Grossman had just thrown his 4th interception. The Bears had 6 turnovers. Then the Cardinals had the ball, and then this happened.
Second down, here's James. And into the line. Did the ball come out? It did! It is scooped up by the Bears! Charles Tillman takes it the distance, and Chicago is very much alive! Watch Urlacher here, guys. Kept reaching in and just pulled it out of the arms of James, and it's scooped and scored by Tillman. He almost got some players kick. Devin Hester from the 18. Reading box, Devin Hester into the open field, and Hester picks up another block. Devin Hester, the punter to beat. He beat him. Devin Hester all the way. Touchdown, Chicago Bears.
It's just incredible.
That is exactly what he did in college at Miami to Louisville when they had a big lead. And the rookie does it again, 82 yards.
Absolutely incredible. They've scored no points on their own offense. Their offense has been nothing horrible. On their offense. They have 2 scores on defensive plays and a score on a punt return. And if
we talked about the Chicago Bears.
I wanted to play that for you because this 2018 Chicago Bears could remind us of this 2006 Chicago Bears where the offense sputters and sputters, but the defense and hopefully special teams play could carry us into the postseason. I'm a Bear ball watcher, right?
I'm not ready to go anywhere yet. Can't we just be happy we have one win? We should be 2-0. Then we'd really be jacked up.
I want more, Mike. I want more.
Well, you want more, but we got to see. Now they'll win this week against Cardinals. They should win. They'll be 2-1. But what happens if they lose to the Cardinals?
Oh, well then.
Now where are we at?
We're going to be off the air.
Now we're back to ground zero.
I'll be in the hospital. We'll be off the air.
Well, there were upsets last week. There's a reason there's upsets in the National Football League because there's 2 upsets a week. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you would think as bad as the Cardinals were, the Bears would be better than 5.5-point favorites if they're destined to be what they are. That being said, the defense is going to carry just like Urlacher and Tillman and those guys did. But who's their Devin Hester?
Yeah.
Who's the guy that really, when Rex Grossman was just bad, and he was bad a lot.
Yeah.
Who was the guy? It was Devin Hester, even in that clip there. And the defense set these guys up on a short field back then. I still don't believe they got into the Super Bowl. People try to remind me because the '85 Bears just eclipsed them. Plus, they lost the game, and but they could have won that game if they had a better quarterback. That being said, anything's possible, and I will not say a word about whether they're going to the playoffs or not until I see at least 6 games. Right now, 1-1, my guess would be no. Green Bay that game is gonna hurt them. That game they lost there, even if it was a tiebreaker, could end up hurting them. You know what I mean?
Sure. At
the end of the year, because if they win that game, they're 2-0 and they're large and in charge.
Right. All right, Mike, it is time now.
Didn't mean to disappoint you.
Well,
You're ready to tear up. You want a hanky?
Yes, please.
You want a hanky?
I want that
My God.
bear ball washer towel.
Hey, by the way, everybody says to me, they go, Mike, I saw your T-shirts on The Advantage. They're great. I go, can I get them? I go, yeah. I go, can I see one? I didn't get one yet.
Wow.
I told her, go look up, go on the website. What's the web? Bears Barroom. Look up the clothing. And I'll see if I can finagle one out of Aldo.
You definitely are getting some.
And those really nice Bear Barroom ones, and 100 proof, all nice.
Yeah, they are nice. Yeah.
The phone's got some nice ones. Woo!
Did you see that guy?
There's something wrong with him, by the way.
He works out 3 hours a day. John Buffone, take it easy. You're making us all look bad. He works out in the gym 3 hours a day. Every day, he tells me.
Yeah. And you know what? He goes to playgrounds and exercises on the workout equipment. I'm scared to death of this guy. I really am. He's in another state, right?
He is. He is far away from
the
us.
guy gets in a hyperbolic chamber so he can freeze to death at 225 degrees below zero. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go have myself a Diet Dr. Pepper and some Twizzlers.
Can I have some? Can I have some, please?
My God, I've never been so. If that's what I have to do to have a cut body, forget about it.
I'm telling you, you ain't kidding. All right, Mike, let's move to the portion of the show where you start giving us some sports betting advice. And tell us, first of all, who is sponsoring this portion of the show.
It's beautiful. Guys, I just met Frankie last night. Frank Ignatius at Bet Chicago, one of the great guys. Went out there last night trying to get him to, get into us a little bit more. He loves the site, loves all the shows.
And let me interrupt you a second. I love BetChicago.com. You have got to. All of our Bears. Oh, my goodness. They really do a great job of covering stuff. And it's all Chicago sports and all of the other sports if you want to find out what's happening elsewhere in the NFL, Major League Baseball, et cetera, et cetera. They've got it all covered there. It's a very nice site, BetChicago.com.
Yeah, they got digital billboards up all over, and they also got, they'll be covering Tiger today because he's supposed to win for the 15th week in a row, and he won't, but that's okay. He shoots a 65. He's the girl at the bar that says, I'll meet you at 2 o'clock, and then you're waiting there, and there's no girl. You know what I mean? Where are you? Anyway, this guy's not. Bet Chicago kicking off our campaign by giving away, up to $10,000. As you know, Chicago takes on Arizona this Sunday, and anyone who goes 6 for 6, which I'm going to play, Bet Chicago Sunday Night Contest, will get a share of $10,000. All you have to do is download the Bet Chicago. See, for all the Bears Barroom guys, there's a chance to win this money. For Aldo, for Shane, for myself, for Dr. Phil, for Bear Girl, for Lil Nicky, for Tooch, all you guys. Get in this. And you know what? We should cut a deal. We'll split the money if somebody wins. Anyway, all you have to do is download the Bet Chicago app or go to betchicago.com, enter your picks to play, and it's completely free. It's no risk, all rewards, so why not play? Don't just watch the game Sunday night. Play the game!
Play it,
and
baby!
Win some cash.
Win some cash.
Bet Chicago, and follow them at Bet Chicago 1.
At
all right.
Bet Chicago 1 on Twitter. Excellent. All right, Mike, do you want music behind you, or you want to just go commando?
Well, you know what? I had a little trouble hearing. I thought you were playing the Bonanza theme last week or something like that, and then it was really the football music. But I'd like to try it again, and if it doesn't work, damn it, it was some good radio.
That's right. Well, we'll play the music. Trust me, it is behind you at an acceptable level, and I've got our friends in the chat room telling me
I loved it. It was the best part of the show. We had fun trying to find the levels.
It was fun, yeah.
That's what I do. I try to find a level.
All right, here we go. Take it away, Mike.
All right. I'm going to get going right here, right now. Now, remember, folks, I'm paranoid. I was paranoid last week, though. And last week, I went 4-0 with my best bets. 7-1 overall with best bets. 2-0 with my top play. I'm 23-8-1. The trap door is coming. I know it is. There'll be lions down below. I hope I have some raw meat with me to distract them. Otherwise, they're going to eat me up. It's going to happen. I don't know when. So I'm going to be careful once again. But I'm going to go a little higher than I did last week. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start off with the Philadelphia Eagles minus 6.5 versus the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to tell everybody this right now. The Indianapolis Colts are better than people think, and Andrew Luck looks better than everybody thought he'd look. In the meantime, who's coming back? His name is Carson Wentz. Yeah, the superhero. You know, that's the kind of song they would have played. He's going to land on top on the field, and he's going to maybe win the game, but he's not going to cover it, Aldo. Take the Indianapolis Colts plus the points right now. Now, let me tell everybody this. If I say take the Colts, in the Sun Times it's 6.5, but by the time you get it on Sunday, it might be 7.5. So whatever it is, take the Indianapolis Colts plus the 6.5. That's my first pick of the day. All right, are you ready for another one, Handsome?
I am ready. I got that one written down, and I've got my bookie on speed dial. Go ahead.
Here's what you're mad about. You probably haven't played one of my games yet. That's probably what and you don't want to tell me. You're shy about it, and you're upset because you probably could have put 2 room additions on your house by now if you would have just done what I told you.
Right.
All right. Okay, I knew it. I could tell you didn't bet it. You'd be far more happy. You're happy as it is. All right. Giants against the Texans. Now, Aldo, the Texans are supposed to be all that, right?
Right.
Watson is one of my guys. I've sworn by him. He's not bad. But the Texans don't seem to have the bite. J.J. Watt coming back from injury. I'm going to go dog again, which is dangerous. And I'm going to take, and this is what's scary about these games, the 6.5, the 6.5, the 6.5, because you could lose by 7 like I lost by 1 point last night by taking the Jets. Mm-hmm. But I really happen to like the New York Giants getting 6. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
The music's still on?
Yeah, music's on.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Can you crank it up just a second? Okay. Just so I can make sure. I like when you crank it up. All right, that's it. All right, that's it. My God. My God. They got together. They were hungover when they played that song. All right.
I'm hungover now.
Do we not have fun? Okay.
I love this.
Now, Bear fans know this. Bear fans know this. I picked the Bears the first 2 weeks. If I really want to be technical, I gave the Bears to everybody last week.
You did. That's
so
right.
I could have added even another win. Aldo knows that. I picked them 2 weeks in a row. I ride the horse, except here. If this game was 6.5 or 7, I'm taking the Chicago Bears. But what leads me to believe that Dave Johnson is going to be the guy they're out to stop, and that maybe the Sam Bradford can keep the game close. Now, the thing about Sam Bradford is nobody in the history of the game has made more money and done so little than this dirty diaper. I mean, if you know what? Really, I mean, Pampers should hire him as the spokesman for dirty diapers that turn, that's why you got to throw him out, because he's been nothing but a dirty diaper. And he's afraid sometimes because of the injuries he's had. Now, who's going to make you afraid? Akeem Hicks, Khalil Mack. Mm-hmm. But just like last week's spread, when I said this is funny, isn't it funny that Arizona's with 6 points only getting 5.5? So, I say the Bears win. I say to win by 3. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals plus the 6, because it will be 6 by then, maybe 7.5, and we'll make the adjustments, Aldo and I, if that happens. But I got to go with the Arizona Cardinals plus the 6. So now I'm taking. You're going, Mike, please don't.
Yeah.
You know what you're yelling to me, Mike, please don't for? Not because I'm taking the Cardinals, because I've taken 3 underdogs. Because the underdogs, a lot of them won last week. There's been a lot of upsets, and this is usually what happens to me. But I'm not getting off my system, because Aldo, when I talked to him 2 months ago, I said, Aldo, I'm the best handicapper in the country. And Aldo turned and asked me for coffee, and she said, and when she turned around, he rolled his eyes before he turned back to me. I know that happened. So I had to come out and prove myself. But I am fearful this week. I am absolutely fearful. So now I say, what do I do? Do I take a favorite? No, you got to stick with the system. I got the Cardinals plus the 6. I have the Giants in that football game so far, plus the 6. And I have the Colts plus 6.5. Who could I possibly take that's going to help me get it done? The Buccaneers.
The Tampa Bay with Ryan Fitzpatrick? Whoa, okay.
Fitzmagic, who right now was Player of the Week, and I mean, or Player of the Month. I don't know what to do. Him and Mahomes have been on fire.
Oh yeah.
I got to tell you, the Steelers are giving Tampa Bay 1 at Tampa Bay. I think the Steelers have some inner turmoil. Yeah. I think Fitzpatrick comes out and plays another good game. Not the great games that he has in the past 2 weeks, but he plays a good enough game. Just don't officially make him the starter. Once you officially make Ryan Fitzpatrick the starter, he will go into the dumpster. That's what will happen to him. Although he almost got the Jets into the playoffs a few years back, he played pretty good football. He's one of those guys that's good for a 3, 4, 5 week span, and right now that's where he's at. So right now my main picks, ladies and gentlemen, for Bears Barroom is Bucks plus 1, Colts plus 6.5, Giants plus 6, Cardinals plus 6. How do you like those, Aldo?
Well, I like all of them except one, and you know which one I'm talking about. Because I believe that the Chicago Bears are going to win 28-0.
Let me write that down, and then you're going to know what it's like next week to be in a place that I conveniently call, because it's happened to me many times, talk show hell.
I know you're going to give it to me really bad.
Oh, but you know what? I understand. Because they've covered the first 2 games, and this team's worse than Seattle.
Yeah.
And they're on the road. And by the way, they're going to be playing in a nice stadium, cool, and everything else. It's not going to be 139 degrees like it used to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I see where you're coming from. I'm not going to argue with you, because I've even told you I'm in doubts about this week. Bucks, Colts, Giants, Cards. Now, would you like me to run down the other games, ladies and gentlemen, and Aldo Gandia, as always, I add the A when we have great shows. Would you like me to run down the rest of the games, my friend?
Yes, and remind people where they can find all of these picks on Sunday.
All right. Sunday, some of them you can find on Vegas Scores and Odds. Okay. Today, you can find the Bear Bar Room picks in the Chicago Sun-Times. Every pick I'm going to be giving, but see, I only picked 4 picks with Aldo and the guys because we manage money. Now, I forgot. I didn't assign money to these. I am up 1,090. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Tampa Bay for 100. I'm going to go the Colts for 100. I'm going to go the Giants for 100, and I'm going to go the Cardinals for 100.
Okay, gotcha.
So instead of 2 $50 games like last week, we got 1,090. Even if we lose every game, we got 600. If we win, we got like 1,500. So those are the major 4 picks. Now, we're going to go to the Green Bay Packers -3 at the Redskins. I got the Packers in this game. They're at Washington. I know that they got Alex Smith. I know that Aaron Rodgers is still hurt. But the fact that they are favored, the Green Bay Packers, is it because maybe they're the Green Bay Packers? Yeah, but I do know this. Back in the day, if the Washington Redskins had a viable team and you went to Washington, you were not the favorite. So I'm going to take I took the Green Bay Packers in the Sun-Times. My next game, everybody in the United States of America, including, no doubt, my good friend Aldo Gandia.
That's me.
I love saying that name. Are taking the Vikings.
Yep.
Minus the 16.5.
Yep.
I'm taking the Buffalo Bills in that game to cover. I know the Vikings are good. I know Kirk Cousins is good. There's a chance they could lose by 50. But you know what? The Vikings have a good D. Buffalo's in disarray. Josh Allen's got a week under his belt. I just think 16.5, unless you have a super stud quarterback like Tom Brady or Ben Roethlisberger or Peyton Manning, is a lot of wood. So in that game, and by the way, like I said last week on all my picks in Bears Barroom, 11-5. So, you know, as far as all the other picks, but they don't matter once again. I have to instill that in everybody. Here's a game I'm worried about. Patriots minus 6.5 at the Lions. I think people are expecting the Patriots to come, Aldo, and get it done. I'm a little leery of that game, but there's no way I can take the Lions. Not when you're getting, I just think, you know, New England's smarting off a loss against Jacksonville. Detroit covered. They were one of my main teams to cover against San Francisco last week. I'm going to take myself the New England Patriots. The Panthers -3 versus the Bengals. It's another picket game. I'm going to take the Panthers -3 at the Bengals. Cincinnati is going to surprise some people this year. This is really a toss-up game. The only reason Carolina's giving them 3 is because they're at home. I'll go with Carolina, but I'm very tentative on that one. Ravens -5.5 versus the Broncos. I just told Aldo that I believe Russell Wilson next year will be a Denver Bronco. They'll make some trade or something like that, or, you know, whatever. And the Ravens, who's the real team here? Is it the Ravens or the Broncos? The Broncos are 2-0, but Seattle scored 24 points against them. 27-24. I'm going to go with the Broncos. I just think that the Ravens giving 5.5 points is tough. They haven't shown me enough yet, and I'm not in love with their receivers. Dolphins -3 versus the Raiders. I'm taking Oakland for their first win. Dolphins looked good last week, but they're the Dolphins. Right. They're the Dolphins. Period. End of story. You don't know what they're going to do. You got Gaze as the head coach over there. You got Tannehill as the quarterback. If anybody should have been a stud by now, and he's had some injuries too, it's Ryan Tannehill. I thought he was going to be all that. I see him managing the football game instead of like going long on a lot of plays. So I'm going to take the Raiders getting the 3 points. Falcons -3 versus the Saints. Drew Brees scares the living daylights out of me more than Matty Ice. I think this game should be a pick, but I'm going to take the Falcons -3 in their football game. Jacksonville -6.5 versus the Titans. Everybody and their mother is going to be on Jacksonville in this game after what they did, especially at home against the New England Patriots. Blake Bortles always has good Septembers, ladies and gentlemen. The Titans, though, they're a sleeping giant. I like the Titans getting 6.5. And then here's my boys, my guys, the Chiefs. I've ridden them for 2 weeks. Am I going to get off them like I got off the Bears? The answer is absolutely not. I'm not going to go as confidently as, you know, I didn't pick them this week as one of my 4 picks, but there's no way I'm going against the Chiefs, and they're playing Garoppolo. He's still got the pressure on him, but I'm going to take the Chiefs -6.5. And then I think the game, one of the intriguing games of the day, Chargers versus the Rams. Rams are -7. They're the best team in football. But the Chargers haven't looked bad. Phillip Rivers is still a pedigree quarterback. 7 is a lot of wood, but that's never scared me. If the Rams are going to beat them, I think they can beat them by more than 7. I'm taking the Rams. You know, Aldo, I feel myself going downhill. Every pick, I feel myself on a sled, going into a wall of fire. I really do. Just can we get, like, next week, if I have the losing day, a dumpster. Just put a dumpster fire up there for me, because I'm fearing all this. As I'm reading, but then I did last week too. Seahawks -1.5 versus the Cowboys. How can you go against the Cowboys after what you saw with the Seahawks? Except for the fact that the Cowboys are just okay. I mean, Dak Prescott, which guy are you going to see? Is Russell Wilson going to lose again at home? I'm going to go with the Cowboys, though. I cannot believe they're going to look that good after what I saw against the Bears. What, they have about 100 yards for the whole game? So I'm going to take the Cowboys in that game. Now, last night, maybe this was a point of things to come. I did have the Jets last night when everybody in America had the Browns. So I was a man standing alone in a phone booth with enough room for a dance floor as I went down in flames by one point. And that's it. My picks for the day. I'm winded.
I don't blame you.
Does anybody give a roundup like that, Aldo? Anybody in the recent history in your past that's ever done handicapping, please?
They don't hold a card to you. Is that the expression? Hold a card to you? Yeah, they can't do what you do.
Candle.
Mike.
They don't know the candle.
You really?
But that's okay. Card is good too.
That's a candle.
I tell you what, let's go. This is a week-by-week proposition. I said we're building a 100-story building. We got 8 floors after 2 weeks. We're on our way. We haven't had an accident. Nobody's fallen off the roof. Nobody's been, killed on the construction site. There's been no inspectors giving us bad grades. But I'm just telling you, if you leave meat out long enough, it's going to become rancid. Be careful.
Everybody,
I don't know what that meant, but it sounded good.
It did sound good. Everybody in the chat room is telling me, "Candle, you dummy! Can't hold a candle." Okay, I got it.
Well, maybe I understand, Aldo. I mean, you got a lot on your mind. You do 75 shows, and you got a driveway that's in disrepair.
That's right. It is in disrepair.
That's all. You're allowed to make a mistake every so often, but believe me when I tell you this, Bear fans, most of them, because I know this. If you make one mistake,
that's right.
The growling comes.
You ain't kidding. You are not kidding. Hey, Greg Braggs has joined us in the chat room. He is the #1 Chicago Cubs fan in the world. He wants to know, what are you thinking about the Cubbies right now?
Well, they got a problem with this Addison Russell situation. I don't know if you read about it.
No, what's going on?
Problems.
He what?
The wife. There's more tweets coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I just read about it momentarily this morning. If you look it up on the computer, you'll see that he might not be around for the playoffs. So tell him, that's a pretty good shortstop, but his year, I think he's going to be gone. The reason that he's not playing better is because he likes the nightlife, apparently. He's a guy that likes to float around a little bit. And there's some issues coming up with him and
wow,
his wife.
Allegations that he may have physically abused his
wife.
Well,
I mean, this is the wrong time for that to happen. This team's on its way to getting something done. I don't know if anybody else has seen the allegations. Let me talk into the black box here, so to let everybody know exactly what's going on. Because Aldo's been getting busy with the Bears, and I got to just tell him when there's a Cub question, I got to get it right. Hold on, Addison Russell. Here it is. The lady in the black box. Addison Russell's ex-wife accuses him of physical mental abuse in blog post 17 minutes ago.
Oh, God.
Okay? This is a courageous, astonishing post from Addison Russell's ex-wife, Melissa Reedy. I hope Cub fans read it. That's Whitney McIntosh. Domestic violence allegations against Cubs, Addison Russell, Gordon Wittenmeyer. So here's a guy that's basically hitting 250 for the year. I think he's just been okay in the field if he behaved himself, and I'm no one to judge anybody. These, once again, are allegations. There's been problems before. He had a problem last year that he went away for a while. So this could be the beginning of the end for Addison Russell. I do find it hard to believe that people want him suspended, yet Mark Cuban, who is in charge of the Dallas Mavericks, and he should be suspended, by the way, Addison Russell. Mm-hmm. What I find amazing is Mark Cuban, who's in charge of the Dallas Mavericks, there's nothing but domestic abuse going on, or was, and he claimed responsibility, and he donated $10 million to a bunch of groups, and Adam Silver said, "Oh, that's great, thanks. You don't have to be suspended now. He should be suspended.
He should.
Just like anybody else, for whatever they did, whether it's Donald Sterling with the racial stuff, Mark Cuban should not be allowed right now to be the active owner of the Dallas Mavericks. He knew what was going on. He says he didn't. He should have done more. Well, wait, if you didn't know what was going on, why should you have done more? You took your eye off the ball, and reportedly, a couple of these guys were your friends.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an issue.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he knew a lot of what was going on because there was a long list.
While we're screaming for Addison Russell on the allegations, which probably are true. Remember Mark Cuban.
Mm-hmm.
Can Addison Russell give $10 million to groups and just play in the playoffs?
No.
I don't think that will be allowed. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, hopefully the Addison Russell issue will be properly investigated and will come to some justice here one way or another. Now, I got
a feeling it's not going to go good for him.
Yeah, I want to ask you about former Chicago Bulls player Jimmy Butler, who has been with the Minnesota Timberwolves now for, a season and a half. He wants out of Minnesota. He wants to part ways with Coach Tom Thibodeau. I always have trouble pronouncing that name.
Tom Thibodeau.
There you go. And so,
or just call him Tibbs. Call him Tibbs, Aldo.
Yeah, there you go. So he wants out of that situation. What do you make of that?
What a scumbag. I mean, I'm telling you, Thibodeau puts his whole thing on the line for him. They offer him $110 million for 4 years. He turns it down. He then looks for the New York Knicks, the Clippers, and some other the Nets.
Yeah.
Because he knows those are the teams that can afford the most money for him. He doesn't care about winning, apparently, if he's going to those three. And he's not a number one guy. He's a Kawhi Leonard. He's not LeBron. Mm-hmm. He's not a Jordan. He's not a Durant. Mm-hmm. He's not a guy that Jimmy Butler is coming to town. Let's go see him. He's not one of those guys. I mean, you have a team with Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, and he doesn't like Wiggins, so he wants out. Mm-hmm. After Tom Thibodeau put himself on the line for him, and they offered him $110 million. Let me ask you a question. I'm not saying Jimmy Butler's a dumbass. Believe me, he's listening to his agent. But does he really know the difference between? Does it really matter between $150 million and $190 million? My God, or $110 million? It's absolutely what's wrong with the National Basketball Association. It's not a good look, and you're leaving a team that was building to go and take the most money you can and play on a loser, but make it all for yourself, and they'll never be able to afford anybody else, so you're going to keep losing. If that happens, I wouldn't go after the guy. I wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I have a lot of respect for what Butler did coming out of Marquette and
absolutely
working his way into one of the best players in the NBA from, again, he's not a superstar like you said, but definitely a player that can help you win championships. But I think the whole Hollywood thing went to his head. It's interesting that he wants to go to these East Coast teams, New York, LA, where all of the popularity and the celebrities are.
Well, LA's a West Coast team, and they're in the other division. They're losing teams with enough money. Mm-hmm. You know what? I have no proof that he can help a team win a championship. Yeah. I have no proof of that. And besides, I do love how he stepped up with the Bulls, but who taught him all that? Thibodeau. You bite the hand that fed you?
Yeah, that's what I have trouble with.
You're a deserter.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of deserting, we are at the hour mark. But before we go, I gotta ask.
We have to leave.
Yeah, we got to do this 5 days a week.
You're worn out from me. I've been screaming, ranting, raving, having the time of my life.
Before we go, you going to give me a prediction on Tiger Woods with the what is it? The Players Championship that's going on now?
He's going to win it all again for the 40th week in a row. He's going to win again for the fourth. I've been right for 4 years that he wouldn't win another tournament. I've been maybe going on 5. I've been right for over 10 years that he wouldn't win a major. But should he happen to get lucky, I will fess up and say I never thought it was going to happen, and I will say this about Tiger Woods. I love that he's playing good. I just don't think, Aldo, it's not Mickelson and Sergio when he was younger. There's so much talent now, and there's always going to be one guy better than him, which happened to last week. There's a few guys better than him. He's still a top. The thing that amazes me is Phil Mickelson's falling apart, and, Tiger Woods is still as good right now as he's ever looked to me, but I just think the young guns. Yesterday after that round, I watched that whole round. Mm-hmm. He was sweating. He looked exhausted. Mm-hmm. they showed Ricky Fowler, who was winning at the time and still is.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like not fresh as a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So I think age comes to play in these grueling four-day matches. But I am very impressed by Tiger Woods.
Mike, I got to tell you this quick story. Back in 1986, I was working at WBBM TV, the local CBS station here, and I got sent on an assignment to cover this medical clinic that was traveling to all these golf tournaments, PGA events, and treating the players. I didn't know anything about golf at the time. I had never played it and so forth, and I didn't know much about golfers. And so I enter with my camera crew into the mobile unit where the doctors are treating these golfers. And so I'm looking at all these people coming in that are being treated. They're all fat and flabby and so forth. And so I'm wondering to myself, when are the golfers going to come in to be treated? And somebody whispered to me, these are the golfers. The one thing that Tiger Woods did that was great for the golf tour is that he got everybody in shape, because when he was on that tremendous tear, he was the only guy that looked like an athlete out on the PGA Tour.
There's no doubt. Phil Mickelson was intimidated by him. Mm-hmm. Sergio Garcia was never at his level. There was not enough competition. David Duval crumbled when that happened. Now you got guys like Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, who's having a bad year, but he's going to be back. Rory McIlroy's playing better. Ricky Fowler. You got all guys in their 20s and early 30s who are fresh as daisies today. He's going to get up. He's starting, but I can't tell you, once again, I never thought he'd be to this point. Okay? So if he does win, especially the two guys who I bury every time he loses, Brandel Chambly of the Golf Channel and Mike Greenberg, I will fess up and say I was wrong. But until that time, second isn't good enough for him. He wants that breakthrough win. It's going to be fun watching today, because it's a lot more fun watching with Tiger than when he's not. Now, I'll also say this. Phil Mickelson's always been out of shape to me. So, the guys now, you're absolutely right. They're all in shape, and Tiger's one of the main guys.
He really is. It's thanks to Tiger.
But there's also been rumors of pharmaceuticals and blood doping in his past, where he went to another country like Kobe.
Oh, my goodness. We're going to have to
talk about... And don't forget, he had his back fused 4 times.
Yes.
4.
We're going to have
but you know what I mean? We got to delve into that more when we do Bear Barroom Golf Weekly coming up in April.
I love it. We could do it from the golf course.
I just gave you another idea. We'll go hit all the golf manufacturers for money to get advertising. You ready?
By that time, that'll be like our 20th show on the Bears Barroom Radio Network.
I hope you're still standing by then.
Yeah, me too. All right, I want to go over your top 4 picks, and I want to thank the Verdoliak Law Group and BetChicago.com for sponsoring the Mike North Advantage. Give me those 4 picks again while I roll our closing music. Michael North.
The 4 picks, and brought to you by Verdoliak Law Group, Chicago and Nashville law firm that has been fighting insurance companies since 1963. Go see Pete Verdoliak, all the great guys. The Verdoliak Law Group offers reduced fees for those in uniform, military, veterans, police, and fire. If you've been injured, call 844-4VLG-LAW or visit them at Verdoliak.com to get the money you deserve. That's VRDOLYAK. I got the Cardinals Cardinals plus 5.5. I got the Giants plus 6. I got the Colts plus 6.5, and I got the Buccaneers plus 1. And to put it in the words of the great Curly Howard, that's scary.
I love it. And remember, if you need information on Verdoliak Law Group or BetChicago.com, you can always go to BearsBarroom.com. We have billboards there for you to link to their websites. Mike North, you are a joy. I love spending Friday mornings with you. We've got to do it more often. People are saying, have the show out 5 days a week. Do it every morning.
Well, you know what? I did retire. But you know what? I love to do things I love to do. That's what's good about retiring and having enough cachet and enough bank. I love this show, and I love when people like Verdoliak Law Group and, Bet Chicago. I mean, they got $10,000 up. So just download Bet Chicago app and play today. I love this show. I love it here.
All right, brother. I will talk to you next week. We'll be rooting for the Bears to win and maybe
I'll be rooting for the Cardinals to win, to cover.
All right, Mike.
See you, buddy.